Okay, here's the setup for the problem. It says we have two gears. The smaller one drives the larger one. So if the smaller one rotates 225 degrees, how many degrees will the larger one rotate? So we see the picture. We see the smaller one has a radius of 2.5 centimeters. The larger one has a radius of 4.8 centimeters. And so we have some things to think about. Okay, so the arc lengths will be equal. The arc lengths will be equal. So if we find the arc length of the smaller gear, and then we find the angle of the bigger gear by using equations and solving it algebraically. So when the smaller gear rotates 225 degrees, it's going to create an arc length. That arc length is going to be the same arc length for the bigger gear. Then on the bigger gear we have the arc length, we have the radius. We can use that to solve for the degrees. Okay, so rewriting the problem, I'll speed this up a little bit. Okay, so we have our formula. We have arc length, which is S equals R times theta, and that's when theta is in radians, remember? So S, the arc length, equals 2.5, which is the radius, times changing that 225 into radians, so 225 times pi over 180. Notice the 180 and the 225 both divide by 9, and then they both divide by 5. So we get 2.5 times 5 pi over 4. That's approximately 12.5 pi over 4. I know typically we don't leave decimals and fractions, but just for the sake of this problem, it's okay right here. Then, so the 12.5 pi over 4 is the arc length. So that's the arc length that the bigger gear will travel through also. So on the bigger gear, we have the arc length of 12.5 pi over 4 equals R theta. R on the bigger gear is 4.8. Multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 4.8 so that we get the theta all by itself. So we get 12.5 pi over 19.2. That's the angle. So let's go ahead and change that to degrees. 12.5 pi over 19.2 times the 180 over pi. Again, typically we don't leave decimals inside of fractions, but for this problem, just that we are going to be finding the decimal degrees anyways, that's how we do it. Okay. Main things to remember, the arc lengths are equal.